Hi there. I thought I'd have a quick chat about how to establish your profit target or decide what your profit target might be, and various other things that you might want to consider when Dutching with a view to trading out. Now, this isn't a talk about the selection process. This is actually really a talk about um, the types of things to look out for once you've established your selections, whether that selection or selections is going to make a viable Dutch. So let's start off with field size. First of all, I would stay away from large fields. I'm not a great lover of large fields, although I have in the past dabbled in them. But certainly anything over 16 runners is not an option for me. There's plenty of races to come along that won't have that many runners in them. Even 12 to 16 runners I would possibly shy away from, although I'm more likely to dabble in them a little. So I try to limit myself to a maximum of 12 runners if I can. And then in addition to that, I try to limit myself to 3 selections. The reason for that is the more selections you have in your Dutch, pretty self-evidently, the less profit you will make if you let that race run through its conclusion. So in other words, the runners in your selection have to hit lower odds enable for you to achieve your target profit. So 3, generally speaking, would be the maximum. If I've got 10, 11, 12 runners, I might consider 4, but I'm more likely to ignore them. And if I do have 4 in the one that's least favoured, I would tend to use the skewed Dutching technique that I showed you a few weeks back. And again, more of that later. But as the number of runners falls, I'm actually likely to reduce the number, field size. As the field size falls, I'm likely to reduce the number of runners I select to 2. So in this particular example, the last race at Ayr this evening, with only 5 runners in the field, there's no point in doing 3 runners, as you'll see shortly. And then once I've established how many runners are going to be in the field and I've made my selections, I then look at the Dutch and see what the return is going to be to see if it's actually going to be viable and to ascertain what target profit I should look for. So let me just use this race as an example. I know we're 20 odd minutes out, so the odds aren't fully settled yet. But by way of example, this will do. So let's look at the first option here. And I'll just randomly select 3 of those runners. Now you can see here that the return based on a £100 stake is going to be about £82 or thereabouts. Now that is a potential viable Dutch. However, as I said earlier, I'm not keen on doing three runners in a field this size, because one of those runners or 2 of those runners is going to have to drop in odds for a fair bit in order to hit your target profit. I'll discuss target profit in a minute. So imagine if we only went for 2 of those. You can see there's a much better target profit there. But similarly, if we go to the 2 at the head of the market, you'll see our target profit is much smaller there. So the actual profit, the potential profit available if you were to let your Dutch run through to its conclusion, influences how much profit or your target profit that you should go for. Now with a stake, an overall stake of £100, I would be looking to do a minimum target profit of 20%, in other words £20. But in addition to that, however, the target profit that I'm looking for would be half of what the potential profit if the Dutch was run as a bet and run through to the conclusion of the race. So in this particular case, with only 46, a target profit of £20 is certainly feasible. But if we go to the other extreme and look at the two outsiders, what we're looking at here is a target profit that I wouldn't set as being half of the potential profit, as in the previous case. Any Dutch that I place for a stake of £100, the maximum target profit I would be looking for is £50. Keep in mind, as I've already shown you in numerous videos, the target profit is actually triggered by a green up all automated procedure, and so if that is triggered and all your bets, the triggered bets, are matched, you generally get more than your target profit as your returned profit. So in this particular case, with these two runners giving £400, I wouldn't look for a target profit of 200. I'd still only limit it to 50. And the reason for that is partly because these higher returns are only usually given when you have higher odds. In other words, these runners are relatively unfancied compared to the other runners in the market, so they may not be expected to run very low. So you don't want to try and get them to hit a target profit of half of what the Dutch would return on its own. Instead, limit it to something less than that. So as I say, 50% of my overall stake would be the maximum target triggered profit I'd be looking for, and 20% would be the minimum target profit. If, having done my selection process, and I'm still unsure about having a third runner in there, I wouldn't necessarily have 3 runners or more in the market. Instead, what I might consider is using the variable profit option that I showed you in previous videos. So in this particular case, I would look at the runner that I didn't particularly fancy, but I didn't want to completely discount, and I would change that setting there to 0, and that would give us, on that particular runner, on a Diamond Haze, a return if my triggered profit wasn't hit and he went on to win the race. So essentially I'd have a scratch trade there, if you like, but it gives me a much better profit on the other 2 runners who I think are my preferred runners, and that would then potentially allow me to look for a higher triggered profit. Keep in mind the stuff that I've already shown you with regard to modifying your target profit based on the number of runners you have in your Dutch, which has been pretty successful, I would say, in that with one runner it's a 50%, sorry, a £50 or 50% in this case, I suppose, with 100% stake, £100 stake. With 2 runners it would be 25, and with 3 runners it would be 15. So there's that option as well. But so in this particular instance, where I'd had one set to give me a scratch trade if it was the one that won the race, I would be comfortable increasing that towards the £25 profit target rather than limiting it to the £15. So you can see there's a number of things that you should consider over and above the process of selecting your runners in the first place. Keep in mind that if you find yourself losing, you really need to review your selection process. It's your selection process that provides the winners, none of these target profits and the like. One other thing I should flag up about doing a target profit when you're planning to trade out of a Dutch: don't have your target profit too low. For example, if you have a £100 stake as I have here and you're looking for a 10% profit, if you have a loser, which you will, um, you're going to have to do another 10 races before you make that back. So as much as you possibly can, go for the higher profit within reason, based on your selections and the number of runners in the field, and so on and so forth. Anyway, I hope that gives you food for thought. I shall speak to you later. Cheers.